I want us to know and understand how to operate in the supernatural. The supernatural is a realm where things that science can never explain exist. The supernatural is a realm where things that the mind can never comprehend happen. It's a realm where things that are above normal happen. The supernatural is a realm through which you can access things that seem impossible in your life. It's a realm which was meant for us, but hijacked by the devil and his agents. I want you to understand that you can never operate in the supernatural with a natural mind. In 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 14, the Apostle Paul says, "But the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of God, for they are foolishness to him, nor can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned." Jacob in the Bible was one man who was conscious of the supernatural. His mind was spiritual. That's the reason why in Genesis chapter 32, verse 24, when he wrestled with the man, he perceived that the man wasn't just ordinary man. So he got hold of him and demanded for a blessing. I want you to know that those who operate in the supernatural are prophetic. Being prophetic isn't all about predicting events in someone's life. It's more than that. When I say being prophetic in this context, I mean embracing prophetic actions. I mean being conscious of prophetic actions. For instance, when witches and wizards want to bewitch someone, they would make a human figure out of wood or any other material in form of a doll representing the person they want to bewitch. And then whichever prophetic action they do on that doll, it befalls the person they want to bewitch. The other example I would give you is that of a person whose academic performance is bad. He goes to a library and collects a handful of soil. According to the understanding of this witch or wizard, a library is a place where knowledge is found. So getting some soil from there, prophetically, he has gotten the knowledge he needed. The other example I would give you is of a person who is financially challenged. He goes to a bank and collects a handful of soil from the premises. This witch or wizard believes a bank is a place where wealth is kept. So taking that soil home, he or she believes there shall be an instant financial turnaround in his life. So collecting the soil from the bank premises and uttering words on it is a prophetic action that a natural mind can never accept. A pagan army commander by the name of Naaman in 2 Kings chapter 5 verse 17, after getting healed of leprosy, he requested for loads of soil from where the prophet was staying. He requested for loads of soil so that he could go back home and build an altar from where he could worship the living God. Moving the soil from where the prophet of God was stepping his feet was a prophetic action. I want to believe Naaman believed the same grace upon the prophet will be transferred onto his altar. There are so many prophetic actions that witches and wizards use to afflict people's lives. If, for instance, they place someone's photo in a coffin and bury it, it means they have buried his life. They have buried his destiny. If they bury someone's certificate, it means they have buried his destiny. He'll never go anywhere. You know, these people look at almost everything with a prophetic eye. For instance, they believe that the soil that is found on the crossroads is neutral. They believe it's so obedient that it obeys whatever they command it to do. I believe that was the reason why some of our parents never used to allow us to pass through the area between crossroads. Let me run you through a few portions of scriptures about people who were conscious of prophetic actions. 2 Kings chapter 13, verse 14 to 19. When Elisha was in his last illness, King Joash of Israel visited him and wept over him. my father, I see the chariots and charioteers of Israel," he cried. Elisha told him, get a bow and some arrows. And the king did as he was told. Elisha told him, put your hand on the bow. And Elisha laid his own hands on the king's hands. Then he commanded, open that eastern window. And he opened it. Then he said, shoot. So he shot an arrow. Elisha proclaimed, this is the Lord's arrow, an arrow of victory over Aram. For you will completely conquer the Arameans at Aphek. Then he said, now pick up the other arrows and strike them against the ground. So the king picked them up and struck the ground 3 times. But the man of God was angry with him. You should have struck the ground 5 or 6 times, he exclaimed. Then you would have beaten Aram until it was entirely destroyed. Now you'll be victorious only 3 times. So the striking of the arrows on the ground was a prophetic action which proclaimed victory over Aram. That's how prophetic Elisha was. Genesis chapter 5 verses 28 to 29. Lamech lived 182 years and had a son, and he called his name Noah, saying, this one will comfort us concerning our work and the toil of our hands because of the ground which the Lord has cursed. From this portion of scripture, we can see that Lamech did one prophetic action which changed the entire world. The whole world was under a curse because God had cursed the ground. And the curse brought forth a lot of suffering. It brought about toil. So in order for this curse to be removed, Lamech simply had to be prophetic by naming his son Noah. Noah is a Hebrew word for comfort. Noah means comfort. So when this child was born, Lamech had to proclaim a blessing upon the ground by naming him Comfort. And we see the effects of this prophetic action in Genesis chapter 8 verse 21 when Noah raised an altar before the Lord. Genesis chapter 8 verse 21. And the Lord smelled a soothing aroma. Then the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground for man's sake, although the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. Nor will I again destroy every living thing as I have done. I don't know what seems difficult in your life. Prophetic actions can change situations. Prophetic actions can do things that are impossible in human understanding. If you are single, make a prophetic action by buying rings, buy a wedding dress. Then every day proclaim that your spouse is on the way. You are married and your husband comes back home late. Sometimes he comes back in the morning. Without his knowledge, get his shoes. Command the shoes. Declare to the shoes. Declare to say, the owner of the feet that enter into these shoes shall never come back home late. Operating in the supernatural can make you do exploits. Operating in the supernatural can make you access things that money can never buy. Operating in the supernatural can make you change situations. Remember, if you want to operate in the supernatural, be prophetic. I mean, embrace prophetic actions. Be conscious of prophetic actions. The Lord be with you.